Hi everyone, I'm Dawn, and I'm here today because I wanted to share my story. Recently, I saw someone on Instagram sharing their story, and what she was saying was that if it helps just one person, then it's necessary to share. So I'm hoping that by my sharing my story, it helps someone out there who needed to hear it, someone who maybe has gone through the same things. I'm not really sure where to start. Um, I've never done my full story on camera before, but here we go. I recently started my own company. It's not really taken off yet, but it's definitely a passion project and something I feel very strongly about. I make jewelry and I also love to style people, pick out outfits, personal shopping, all that good stuff. So I started making jewelry over 20 years ago. And the reason I started making it was because I was in a place in my life where I was experiencing very deep emotional pain. And I needed an outlet and I needed to do something creative. And I first, this is actually really funny. I first went to a knitting class at my local craft store. I think it was like Michael's or something that was offering a knitting class. And I went to the class and I was a disaster at knitting. Although I'm a very creative person, like knitting is not my thing. I got knit 1 and purl 2, I was lost, like totally lost. So I ended up, I finished the class, I met some nice ladies, and that was all fine and good, but I didn't find my creative outlet. So after class one night, I started roaming around the aisles and I found a jewelry making kit. And it came with just a little bit of each kind of healing stone, amethyst, rose quartz, that kind of thing. And then it came with the tools and, like a little bit of wire, a little bit of everything so you could learn. And I read the instructions and I started making jewelry with the kit. And I loved it. I went crazy for it. I loved what I made. I loved the whole process, and it really lit me up on the inside. And then I was able to make jewelry to coordinate with all the outfits that I loved picking out so well, right? And so that was totally awesome. But then, this kit, it was so small and I needed to buy more supplies when I was done with my first necklace. And so then bear with me, this has nothing to do with like the emotional side of my story, or maybe it does, but bear with me. So then I decided, oh yeah, I need to get more crystals and stones and more supplies. And then I started researching the stones and what they meant. And I thought, oh my God, no wonder why I like this so much. These stones are helping me to heal myself. Those are my dogs barking behind me. They're always barking at something. If they continue, we're going to have to pause and close the curtains because there must be a bunny or squirrel outside or something. Hopefully they just settle down. And so I was like, oh my God, no wonder why this resonates with me. These stones are healing me. I can heal myself. I can heal myself and I can use the energy from the stones. And so here it is. I was in deep emotional pain. Why was I in such pain? Well, I was having a lot of problems in my marriage, like serious problems. So I made a very poor decision, like a terrible decision that I kind of regret. I don't really have many regrets, but I definitely wish I would have done things differently to get to the place where I am right now. Um, I was not in a good space. Um, my spouse um, was about 4 years into the marriage, and about 1 year in, I started to experience some emotional abuse, but I didn't really know that's what it was. And so I didn't tolerate it very well. Like I definitely had like a reaction to it, and now I realize that how I got myself in this situation was because I didn't know any differently. That's what I experienced my whole entire life, right? So I ended up acting out totally. Like I ended up kissing this guy, like a coworker, friend of mine. Actually, he kissed me, but I went with it. And that was really wrong. That's as far as it went. But I don't lie very well, and I make it a practice now to be extremely honest. Um, but I felt like, my spouse knew there was something wrong, because he kept saying, I know something's off, I know something's wrong, and I didn't want to talk about it at first. And then I told him what I had done. And then the emotional abuse escalated to physical abuse. And that was awful. Because I realized by acting out, not that I'm responsible for anybody else's actions, but it definitely made my situation worse, because I would have rather have been discussing how upset I was over the emotional abuse I was experiencing, rather than how things escalated. That went on for a few months. I don't think more than 6 months. It was a long time ago, a really long time ago. I don't think it was more than 6 months. And the reason it stopped was because one night, I don't know where this even came from. I'm always wondering, because now, yeah, it might be just like me to do something like this, but back then it wasn't like me at all. So I almost think it was like God or the angels or somebody protecting me. He had grabbed me by my arm, and I don't know exactly what was going on or how I came to this point, but I grabbed him by his shirt, the collar of his t-shirt. I pulled him in real close, like, and real sternly, and I said, if you ever touch me again, I will effing kill you. I let go, he let go, and then that was it. And I was like, at the time I didn't realize how badass it was, but like, I'm proud of myself, and I do believe that if I was ever in a situation like that again today, which I'm not, and I hope I never find myself there again, I feel like I would do something similar. But anyway, back to the story. So that's where the physical abuse stopped, which was really good, because in, I think, most cases it doesn't stop once it gets there. But then I started asking myself, how the hell did I get here? Like, why is this my life? And then I started looking back. And that's where the healing began. I looked back to my childhood. My parents loved me so much. It was undeniable. It was absolutely evident. They took care of me. They told me they loved me. They did so many loving things for me. At times I got treated like a little princess. And then there were other times. There were other things. And that's when I really started thinking, I don't even think that people realize. I don't think my parents realized. I don't think my spouse realized that their behavior was abusive. I mean, at some point you must, right? But I think a lot of the time that's the way it goes down. They think they're just expressing their feelings, or that they're correct in their convictions, or I don't know what. But like my mom, I know she loved me so much. But when I look back on some incidences, I think I said it right, incidences, that she was 100% gaslighting me, like gaslighting a child. I remember being like 5 years old, 6 years old maybe. I think it was closer to 5. And I had my favorite doll. We named her Baby Dawn. I loved that doll so much. And one day I was furious. I got so mad and so upset, and I don't really know what I was so mad or so upset about. But I went in my room and I slammed the door. And then my mom came in my room to talk to me about it. And I guess I wasn't ready to talk or something, or I was still angry. And I picked up Baby Dawn, and I remember doing this. I threw her against the door. I threw her across the room very forcefully. She hit the door, and then she fell on the floor. And my mom turned around and she said to me, "Now look what you did. You hurt Baby Dawn." Now, I know what she was trying to do. She was trying to illustrate to me that anger is not going to get me where I need to be. Expressing anger in a destructive way is not helpful, right? I think that's what she wanted to say, or maybe that's what she was trying to do. But instead, she chose to make me feel guilty for my feelings. I was 5. I didn't know, and so in order to, I guess, control that situation, because maybe she felt out of control, that's how she chose to handle it. And I definitely can look back and see that she struggled with her own feelings. I maybe didn't know that as a child, but as an adult, I can look back and clearly see that. So, that's abusive behavior, gaslighting, guilting someone, emotional manipulation. That's abusive behavior. I don't think she understood that. I think she was trying to control the situation. It doesn't excuse it or make it right, but I can now see that that's how that kind of behavior perpetuates itself, because it's used as a means of control, and if it works, they keep doing it, And my mother also expressed so much love to me, but there were countless times where that's how she dealt with me and my feelings. And my dad was I miss both my parents so much. They're both no longer on this earth. but I miss them so much, and I can feel them still with me. My dad was such a fun, loving person, but his way of controlling things was making constant jokes. And my dad, I believe, was overweight his entire life. And I know that he didn't want that for me. And I was a chubby little kid. As an adult, I'm a perfectly healthy, normal weight. But I think that my dad was afraid, so maybe his behavior was fear-based, and a lot of people, I believe that's true as well. He would joke around a lot about my weight, and and that came out in like name calling and stuff like that. It wasn't even in a malicious way. It was like in a joking way. He'd make jokes. I can't remember the jokes right now about me being like fat or dumb or something like that. Not something like that, just like that. And so we would all laugh and joke about it. But now I understand I was never fat, and I'm actually really intelligent. And even if I was overweight as a child, which I was a chubby little kid, there were ways to handle it without name calling or trying to make me feel bad. I don't think his intention was ultimately to make me feel bad or insecure about myself. I think his intention was, let's make her aware so that she doesn't become overweight like me. And he even has said that to me at some point. He said, I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to look like me. And my face is the spitting image of my father. So I think that literally when he looked at me, he saw himself, and he didn't want me to face the same struggles that he had, which is totally understandable. But I think there was a better way to handle it, because calling someone names is abusive behavior. But I don't think he knew that he was doing that. I don't think they were aware. And I think that, again, doesn't excuse it, doesn't make it okay. But it helps me to see how things played out the way that they did. I think my parents probably experienced higher levels of that behavior than I did, because I really felt like they tried to do better for me than what they had. But again, when you're not aware of yourself, this is what you're teaching a kid, right? So that's what I learned. And then also my parents went through some really serious financial difficulties. Like, it affected my whole life. We had to move, and we moved around a lot, and I didn't even really understand why. And then I was in high school, and I started working, and I'm working because I think I'm gonna buy myself cool clothes and shoes and stuff, and I'm ending up giving my paycheck to my parents because they needed it to pay bills. And every week I would work as much as I could, thinking, maybe I could just take a little bit of it for myself and buy the cool things that I really want. And that didn't really happen too much. Like, once in a while, yes, but not very often. So I was taught, just by the life that I lived, that love means you have to give up everything. Love means you have to give everything you have. Love means it's okay to accept guilt and gaslighting as a response. Love means you have to give up all your money. Love means you have to give up all of yourself. And so then I met my spouse, and that's what I understood love to be. Maybe not on a conscious level, but on an internal level. That's what I learned. So, at first everything was fantastic. I was like, wow, this is the love of my life. This is amazing. I'm getting married. Everything is going to be fabulous. Well, he came to the relationship with his own baggage. I don't want to make too many assumptions, but in comparison to the way I was treated at home, it was almost a picnic to the way he was treated at home. Therefore, he knows love to be something different than I do, or compatible enough that it made him feel okay to take on those abusive behaviors, and it made me feel okay to accept them. And in my opinion, as I experienced it, what I experienced with my husband, the level of emotional abuse was so much greater than what I had experienced at home with my family. So, I just thought I had to be tough and accept it and be a good person and be a good wife, and eventually everything was going to be okay. And, no behavior in my eyes is excusable when it's abusive, but it helps me so much to see where it comes from. And looking back on everything and understanding it at a higher level has been so helpful to me. But I really couldn't understand it until I began trying to love myself. That was the key to everything. As the years went on, I still use my healing crystals. I love them so much. I still make jewelry. I still make custom jewelry to go with my outfits and my leggings and what I need to help me with my moods. And hopefully it'll turn into a successful business. But if it doesn't, it helps me. It's what I love. It lights me up. And that's part of my self-love. Another part of my self-love is my yoga practice. Another part of my self-love is taking as long as I want in that bathroom, doing all those skincare routines and hair routines and just giving myself what I need. Self-love is taking that nap when I'm tired. Self-love is talking to myself nicely, not calling myself names, speaking to myself as I would speak to a child that I love very much, or another person that I love very much, because I love myself very much. And that has gotten me to an incredible place. But when I started this journey of healing, I didn't even know how to love myself. And a lot of times, people talk about self-love and self-care. It's just taking a shower or taking a bath. No, that's not just it. You have to treat yourself lovingly. You have to give yourself the grace and time that you need. You have to come up with rituals that make you smile. You have to come up with ways to let your inner child out. And you have to come up with reasons to really love yourself even when it's hard. And being an honest person, honest about everything, really helps me love myself. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like, I used to be such a people pleaser. I mean, I still want everybody to be happy, but I realize it's not my job to make everybody happy. And if someone wants to know something and I don't want to say, I just say, you know what, I don't want to tell you that. We're not talking about that. And if they want to know something and I want to tell them, I will tell them exactly how it is. I might say it in a kind way because I'm a kind person and I think kindness is necessary. But I'm not going to lie or represent myself differently to make someone else feel better. And all of these things have helped me to love myself. And in loving myself, I can see everything so clearly now. And so this healing journey has been going on for a really long time. But this self-love, the place I am with the self-love is really new, and I really love it. I really, really love it. But it hasn't been easy getting here. And if anything I have said has resonated with anyone listening, it warms my heart. It fills me up, because these are words that I may have needed to hear in the beginning. And if just one person needs to hear it, I hope it helps you, because I have so much love to give and I want to share it with the world. So until next time, love, Dawn.